Hello and welcome to another Near Reading cast. As always, my name is Johnny, and I'm joined for this series of videos by Andy610 Parsons. Andy, how are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you, Johnny. Thanks for inviting me along.
That's cool, right. So for the next extended series of videos on the channel, we're going to have footage from the BABW tournament in Reading. It was a qualifier for the BABW series, which was a ANRPC affiliated series of tournaments that, for which the final prize was a stipend for the winner to go to Wales to represent the UK alongside Alex White, who won the Nationals.
Yep.
So in this first round of the Reading qualifier, we have an all-Reading matchup.
Oh, good match.
That's right, it is. So we have James Nowecki on the left, playing his Kate. And on the right we have Joey McMillan, long-time commentator of these casts. And it's fair to say that these guys would have played a lot against each other in preparation for this tournament.
I'm sure they did.
So, are there any early decisions that one of these sides has to make? What do you think about the matchup for Kate against RP or RP against Kate?
I mean, it's a fairly standard matchup for where we are in the meta. I think James is going to be digging through his deck, trying to get as much money as he can, find his breakers, start probing that R&D. Joey's going to be hoping to stabilise. He's got a Sunju down.
Sunju will help.
Just going to try and tax James as much as possible without losing any of the agendas too early.
That's right, so I'm guessing that RP will, in fact we've already kind of seen it, will try and defend all the centrals as early as possible, buy himself some time to set up a decent scoring remote and a Caprice, presumably, and then start pushing through remotes. Kate, on the other hand, has already got 2 prepaids down, so it's definitely going to help the economy. So this tournament took place shortly after we had the Underway. That was it. The Underway came up.
Yep.
So we have a fair, unlike say Nationals, we have a large amount of the Sand cycle available. So I think there's a lot of Faust and that kind of thing.
Yes.
I happen to know that James added Faust actually as a change to his deck as a kind of AI emergency option. He didn't go all in on it,
No.
but he switched some influence to it. So it'll be interesting to see if that, I don't know, gives his Kate deck some kind of added power during the day.
It's an interesting splash. I think one of the things, though, with Kate is that with so many tools available, you don't necessarily want to be throwing cards away into the bin whilst you can levy or use clone chips, etc., to get stuff back. You don't necessarily want to be discarding those things that you might want to use later.
Yeah, you're probably right. So we haven't even seen yet a speculative run from Kate. Do you expect? I mean, should you see more kind of early aggression against RP just to like early on before they're set up?
I mean, James is just dropping a Maker's Eye, which is always good. I mean, I'm amazed he's letting the Sunju live. You just can't really allow that if possible.
It's possible he's going to go after it this turn. I don't know. I mean, he's got the SMC, so he can break whatever is in R&D. I'm probably not going to get him access. So now that's a really interesting influence splash.
Yeah. So maybe that's why he's been a bit conservative with his running, managing to kill a Caprice of R&D, which is the right place to see her.
That's right. So he's already seen he's seen Grail, which means he now needs to be very careful with All Ice and Blacklist. So these are interesting influence uses out of RP. Do we think we're going to see a Batty in this deck?
I would expect it.
So I might tell you that yes, there will be, and James will know this. I mean, these guys have played a lot, so it's possible his tentative start is because any ice could be Grail, and he goes into this game knowing that. I guess that's an advantage you have if playing against a regular opponent.
Yes,
in a tournament.
Definitely.
Obviously, the opposite is true as well. So Joey will know what surprises this Kate deck includes probably, and what he needs to be aware of.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see that there's going to be anything in particular that's going to be taking against Faust if he knows that James has got it in his deck. But I think that if James is concerned about losing cards to net damage from a Merlin, the threat of program destruction from Lancelot, and the fact that those cards can be seen at any time, is potentially a big problem. Obviously, there's a sharpshooter on the board. You've got an SMC.
That's true.
So you can get out of jail maybe once or twice, but I'm guessing that James isn't going to be splashing for parasites, which is probably one of the most effective ways of dealing with Grail. And certainly when I used to play Grail, coming up against somebody that could recur some parasites caused me no end of problems.
Yeah, it's possible that the reason he installed that sharpshooter so early was because he knew that you know, that might be a problem, and that if he hit Lancelot, maybe even Lancelot on a Galahad, for instance, he wouldn't be able to break it. So we've got Swordsman on HQ. Now that's interesting.
It is very interesting.
Is that possibly anti-Faust tech?
It could well be.
I mean, it's Jerry would have expected a lot of Faust, not necessarily out of Shaper, but he I mean, I might as well tell you, there were a lot of Anarchs on this day, like a lot of Anarchs. So he might have expected a fair amount of Faust, and I think Swordsman's really good anti-Faust. I don't know, I think it's a good anti-Faust card. It's not a good anti-Mimic card.
No, I mean I think a lot of Anarchs will be playing Mimic as well, unless they're going all in on just a single AI breaker, which is a risky move. And the fact that Shaper can get Mimic out with very little trouble at all means that it is probably, that HQ isn't going to be very safe at the moment.
So we've got Future Perfect, but James only has 1 credit, so the rational decision for Jerry here would be to pay 2, and he does.
Yep.
We've talked previously where you can sometimes risk paying 1, because the runner will always pay 0. But yes, he pays 2 to protect the Future Perfect, which makes sense. But he, now James knows it's in there, and he can get into HQ, assuming he doesn't install an AI breaker.
Yeah.
For just a credit, Mimic will break Swordsman for 1, or he can take the net if he has total garbage in his hand, which is possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Jackson now will help Jared set up. In fact, we might even see that Future Perfect go away. I think it looked like he discarded it. So we'll maybe see some agendas get washed through R&D again. But do you force the use? Do you run archives?
Definitely. I mean, particularly in RP where there's very little value, and you can't run the remotes straight off the bat, which might be the move if you've got enough to pay to trash Jackson. If you're not too worried that you're going to face plant into something horrible on archives, then I think trying to trigger the Jackson is a good move.
It was so archives was iced quite early. It's possible it's a crick, and James might be making that assumption, which means that he can't break it. He hasn't got any code gate solution at the moment. So he might be worried that if he face plants a crick, then Sundew comes back or something like that. So I mean, maybe he wants to kind of cover his bases. So we've got an install next to the Sundew. I mean, it's got to be a Caprice, right?
I would imagine, or it could be the could be a Batty.
Could be a Batty. Yeah.
The other thing though with Crick, if he's going for a Sundew, if it gets installed, then it's going to be available to trash the next turn, and so it's only a 2 credit loss.
That's true, but I mean,
he is running on
it.
Yeah, he is running on low credits at the moment.
So whatever it is, this thing next to the Sundew is obviously going to defend that remote. It's got to be a Caprice or Batty, right?
Yeah.
It could be an Ash. It's possible. We've seen a fair amount of Ash out of RP decks, but if it's Grail RP, you'd assume there's not the influence.
No, there's going to be a real shortage of influence there.
Yeah, it's obviously got his Jacksons as well, presumably 3. So there's not a lot of spare influence to that.
No.
So that means that do you? I would like to see runners go after something they suspect to be a Caprice, because by the time there's an agenda in there, it's probably too late.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see James, hit HQ, and he'd need a bit more money first, but make a couple of potentially fruitless runs on the remote just to force the side games, and because even the Sundew's worth trashing, but whatever it is kind of needs to die, and if it's a Batty, it'll get used up, I guess. As well.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, you've got that benefit.
use.
But then if Batty is getting used, if it's not to keep him out, would that be a major? Is it going for the kill shot? Is it going for something that's then going to cause James, blow up part of his rig? That's going to cause further problems. The size down. Do we know which server that's pointing at?
I believe it's R&D actually. Yes, I think it's R&D. So I guess he's worried about Merlin's on R&D. So it looks like he's now set up to attack R&D, and he can hit anything and not be worried about it. So I wouldn't be surprised to see, say, another Maker's Eye, or the same old Maker's Eye even in the near future. You get the feeling that if he can get a bit of pressure on R&D. He might, see an agenda or two, maybe for a side game. He doesn't really have the money for that, but you'd like to see some R&D pressure before it gets too late. As I say, when there's an agenda in that remote, you've kind of missed your window to steal it.
And particularly if it's a Nisei Mark II, then you're putting yourself down.
That's right.
A long, long way.
So from RP's point of view, do we? Will Joey feel like he's in a good position? I mean, he's kind of got, double us on the two important centrals and on his ostensibly scoring remote. I mean, he's got a good credit advantage. He's going to feel kind of set up. Well, I mean, we've got to assume by now that there's going to be an agenda in hand. Looks like it's a Nisei, in fact. So, you feel like the window is approaching. He might,
definitely.
Very soon, you might try and force something through.
James is relatively well set up in terms of his breakers. He's got net ready eyes out as well, which is going to help in case there's any nasty itchies floating around. Though influence obviously is
it's not
problem there. I guess having a cyber-cipher only pointed at R&D is a problem there, but if there's Merlins elsewhere, then that they may do some good work. Kate can always get in somewhere. That's the problem with Kate.
Yeah, that's true. And a clone chip as well means that there's an Atman in the bins. And there's going to be other things. We saw an SMC as well. So I mean, with money, any solution is within reach.
The jank play of clone chipping the SMC to find what you need that isn't around is.
So we've got an installed advance in the remote. One advance suggests is a Nisei, could be an NAPD. I believe we saw a Nisei in Joe's hand earlier. And if you're Kate, if you're James, you have to assume it's a Nisei because you need to pressure it. Although it looks like he's not interested in that. Installing RND interface that will help with checking RND, so he's going to dirty laundry RND. He's confident he can get in. So we've got Galahad, which obviously Lady's got no problem against. Although with 3 subs, I expect. Given how long the game's gone, there's going to be some. So we've got Lancelot and 2 Lancelots being revealed. So that means 2 tokens will beat break Galahad. And
another one.
Same subs. Okay, so that's Lady used up straight away. And I like this barrier taxing approach on R&D. Sanji could trash it. Yeah, he does. It's probably a good call. Okay, so that he's basically given up on this remote though, right? He does. Yeah, he gets his laundry money. So he's got. that was his last click. So we're gonna get res on blacklist, which is an interesting decision. But I guess clone chip, same old thing on the board. Scoring a Nisei as well means that if he's desperate, I guess he could Nisei a run on the blacklist. Not likely.
No, I wouldn't have expected that. I think it might also help Joey because it means that he can't same old thing for any of the. So he can't make another Maker's Eye run this turn. Being out of dog tokens is a problem for James at this moment in time if he can't regenerate the lady.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we saw at least one scavenge go past, trash to damage, but it's possible that he's going to have more. He might even be keeping one in hand for that reason. And of course, he can always install over it and clone chip to bring it back or whatever. Yeah. So I expect that lady won't last very long. It's no longer useful. But it's going to be annoying, right, for James if he has to use an entire lady to get into R&D for one run. I mean.
And then potentially that having to side game for future perfect.
That's right. I mean, he's getting 2 cards a go, but yeah, it's not ideal. Another possible candidate for a scavenge would be this Cyber Cipher, which is so installs Faust over the lady. Would be the Cyber Cipher, which is not useful R&D at the moment. Maybe on the remote. Legwork was interesting. So I'm not sure what. Do you think that there's going
to be agendas building up in hand?
It's been a while, and we've only seen one agenda go through, but we do have Jackson.
There's an advanced card on the table. So.
Yeah, I think it's speculative for. You're right. I mean, it's possible. Maybe he thinks there's one in there, and he's just trying to get it. Anyway, Net Ready Faust is going to break Excalibur. So this is only click 2, so assuming he gets in, which it looks like he will do, Yes, he's going to trash. So he's going to trash card Faust to break an Excalibur, Miracle break Swordsman.
Yep.
Let's see what he gets. He's going to get 3 cards. Okay, this is going to do that. So yeah, that's the thing, I guess, against against Grail, is that you're just going to see a lot of Grail.
Yeah.
He runs the Blacklist. Interesting. Okay, so he didn't consider the remote, not even to force some reses, for instance.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess what I'd like to see is see him get a credit advantage and maybe try a sneaky vamp or something. I mean, that would presumably get Nisate, but you could vamp and then same old vamp or some crazy.
No, definitely. I mean, there are options there if he's. I think Joey's got far too many credits for James's liking to protect that remote server, and the fact that there's out comes another blacklist.
Yeah. So, when you trash a blacklist, should you use clone ship or something to avoid that exact thing happening?
I mean, how many times do you see multiple blacklists in?
Sure, maybe he just got unlucky, but I feel like if you're worried that it's a thing, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe what he wanted from the clone ship was not the program, but the flexibility to install at instant speed.
Yeah.
So I guess, but if he had a program in mind, I'm not sure what it would be.
You'd have thought
then he might have gone for it. Yeah, maybe I don't know if he's like another get Lady back or something. That's the obvious candidate, but
or move Cyber Cypher over.
Oh, that's a good point. It occurs to me that Scavenge is basically blank actually. If you blacklist on the table. Although Scavenge does install out of hand as well. HQ, often forgotten.
Yeah.
So you could Scavenge for a Lady in your hand, for instance, but beside the point. So you get the feeling, although James has pulled back a bit of economy, that he's feeling very kind of downtrodden here. He's kind of struggling to avoid what looks like an Nisei train. Okay, so another check on HQ. Batty's going to trash Batty. Batty's got an auto trash as well now, just like Caprice. I mean, it's only one use, but it can do worse.
Now, is he going to?
And he trashed the blacklist again.
Is he going to do anything now that
I mean, I don't know if he's got one in hand. But if he has, I'd like to see him do that because it would be hilarious. So presumably we're going to get a score of whatever that thing is. Although we should mention that he didn't score it last turn.
No, it's just
maybe he's just really confident that James can't get it. What did he do last turn? So he just installed the blacklist and then drew in hedge fund. So it's not exactly a power turn. I mean, this is useful.
Oh, here comes the
score.
So
it is Nisei. Okay,
Ooh,
so we've got
second.
So 2 Niseis and what is presumably at least a Caprice, at least a Batty, I should say, in that remote. Looking grim.
Very much so. I mean,
I would definitely like to see him maybe bounce off the Excalibur, / break the Excalibur, and then jack out, and then try and make a couple of runs on this remote. I feel like you have to kill whatever it is because you don't want to win side game. You don't want to have to win 3 side games for the game, right? I mean, presumably Joey's just going to... there are his Future Perfects, in fact. So presumably, he puts them both back in. All he needs now is Future Perfect, right? As soon as he draws it, it goes in the remote, and then it's game next turn. I mean, James won't be able to get in 3 times unless he gets into a better position. So he's put back 2 Future Perfects. What else? And a Batty. Interesting, he didn't take the Caprice. I think I'll take the Caprice in that case. But
that probably indicates that it's the Caprice in the server, I'd say.
Do you know what? That's probably a good point. Yeah, you're right. Because, I mean, and it looks like at this point, game is if you can just end the run. So Caprice is going to do a strictly better job than Batty at that.
Yeah.
You're probably right. So the extra Batty means he can double protect that remote.
Or if he's particularly worried, I mean, Batty, if he finds Batty, he could go on R&D, use it to, if James just keeps deep digging, I know that before Joey gets a chance to score or draw the agenda that he needs, maybe it offers a bit of protection without losing whatever's in the remote, if they're both in the same place.
So it looks like Joe's got Jackson. So do you expect him to install and just start drawing 2 at a time until he gets a Future Perfect? I feel like that's the play here. I mean, James is threatening R&D with Caprice, with Parasite on the Galahad, and he's just trying to weaken it a bit so we can get a few runs. But in fact, he's going to defend R&D. I feel like he's going to feel pretty secure. It's interesting, an install on R&D. So what do you reckon? I mean, that's Probably Batty or Caprice, I guess.
I'd imagine it's
Maybe
Batty. I
the
saw a
opposite.
Batty in the hand
Oh, you did?
earlier.
Yeah, that's probably fair. So, Clone Chip, Parasite will trash the other Galahad. So, Jerry kind of did him a favour.
Yeah.
By trashing that Parasite. For the sake of a credit, I guess. I mean, it depends what this other ice is. Could be a third Galahad, I guess. Okay, so we've got a lucky find. So 2 clicks left. Same old legwork. Okay, interesting. So obviously NRE Faust will break Excalibur, and then Mimic will break Swordsman. So we can get in. He's going to access 3. I guess at this point he's just worried that Joey's going to have an agenda in hand. He's going to have a Future Perfect in hand, and he needs to pressure it. Oh, in fact, we didn't bother breaking the Excalibur because it's last click.
Yeah, I was sort of surprised that he was going to do that.
Yeah.
Oh.
So he's going to trash Batty. Slot and Jackson. I mean, I guess he's going to help him draw, but
yeah,
he hasn't got the credits. Do you feel like if Jerry had an agenda, then he would have just used an Nisei counter? I guess if it's a Future Perfect, then he thinks the side game will protect it.
I mean, if it's anything, the only time I think he would use it is if there was a Nisei and he thought it was a good chance, because if it's an NAPD and James steals it, that drags his credits right back down again.
I think, even a Nisei at this point, if Joey has a Nisei, he's not going to try and score it. There's no point. So, unless he has an NAPD nearby for some reason. So, I feel like, you can give up 2 points. James doesn't have any points. So, at this point, Joey just wants to draw a Future Perfect, right, and get it in the remote. That's his only objective. He's iced up R&D again. I feel like, in many ways, he's playing too slow. I feel like he could just draw way faster.
He's put another upgrade in there as well, which is...
So presumably it could be 2 Batties, I guess.
Yeah.
Although if it's a Batty, I guess it would have gone in the room. Maybe not. I'm not sure. I guess he feels like he's worried that he's going to lose in R&D, because of course, if James can get a lock on R&D, then Joey won't draw that agenda. So another legwork. Wow. So is this a waste of legworks? I mean, he wants to make sure there's no agenda in R&D and HQ, but I feel like
so soon after the last one, I
don't know. He's in a really tough position. I'm not going to say he's not, but I feel like
he's seen the whole of Joey's hand there, but 2 of the cards were exactly the same that he saw last time.
Yeah, I get it. I get that he wants to make sure there's not an agenda in there, but I feel like at least waiting 1 or 2 more turns. I don't know. To be honest, I don't know what I'd do in James's position here. He's in a really tough position. I'd like to see him pressure this remote. If that is an agenda, which is going to advance, right? So that's got to be it. That's got to be a Future Perfect, right? Which means that James is doomed. He's got 4 credits. He can't contend 3 side games.
No.
So unless he's got a stim hack or something.
Yeah. Or unless Joey's
and for some reason doesn't risk any of
ice.
this ice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I would have liked to see more pressure on that remote. You need to kill upgrades, because they're always bad. Maybe he was worried it was a Batty, and he wanted to avoid program trashes and stuff. I don't know, but so he's having a good think. HQ. No, there's nothing in HQ. You check R&D, but I guess your only hope is to get him below 12 credits.
Yeah.
As in getting below 3 credits, but by forcing reses and side games. But
I guess it's
all right, he concedes. That's fair enough. Okay, all right. He could have checked, but yeah. So he could have bounced off the Excalibur and run remote 3 times. That's what Joey's suggesting. But as I said, he can't contend the 3 side games. So Faust might be able to get him in for cards.
So Merlin.
So there's nasty Grail stuff all the way in. So so a bit of a I don't want to say a crushing victory, as a very slow grinding victory.
It was a bit of steamroller's probably not the right term.
Steamroller's go too fast.
Yeah, but there was that horrible RP inevitability there, particularly when the second Nisei was scored, and I think it's a shame that in the end James never tested that scoring remote.
Yeah, I would like to, I've said it a bunch of times. I would like to see pressure on that remote. Because when there's an agenda in there, it's too late. If you can force the Corp to defend upgrades, then like by rezzing ice, that kind of thing, you're getting useful information about what's there. I mean, sure, you could face check something dangerous, but he was prepped against pretty much everything. He could have forced some rezzes, maybe forced some side games. Best case, he could have trashed what was presumably a Caprice in the remote, or forced a batter use. It would have been, I don't know, it would have diffused that remote, because it was very dangerous. And by the time, in all three cases of the agendas being scored, by the time there's an agenda in there was nothing he could do. He couldn't pressure it. So it's in the kind of downswing turns. It's in the turns when Joey is desperately trying to draw the final agenda. That's when you need to kind of clear the way. I mean, it's all well and good. Shapers are kind of built to, snipe the remote. They just kind of hang back. They camp the remote, and as soon as something goes in there, they just power in. But RP plays against that very well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, the other option, of course, is that you saw James using his Parasite on the R&D ice, but by that point, it was almost too late to go in and potentially see enough agendas to get the win. By rezzing the ice on the scoring remote makes them Parasite targets. You can try and thin that scoring remote down a bit, potentially. Gives you other opportunities.
Yeah, you might be right. And so, all right, let me ask you a question then. So James trashed both of the blacklists. Now, I get it. He had a clone chip on the table, and that was going to get him his solution to whatever problems he saw. But is it possible he got too fixated on that? I mean, could he have? Is that it's not 3 credits wasted as such? But I mean, is it? Could he have just waited a little bit?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, it depends on. It's hard to know what James's plan was at that point. But if his immediate plan wasn't needing anything that was in the bin, I guess the lack of lady was a problem. But with Grail, it's very easy to. Once you see where a few of the pieces are, and particularly he saw what was in Joey's hand, he could have had a very good idea of what that ice could have been. And whilst he needed to move the Cyber Cipher onto the scoring remote at some point, and the blacklist would have stopped that potentially, there wasn't. I think the threat from Galahad wasn't there. I think he may well have got distracted by the blacklists.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's the problem is clone chip is such a powerful card, and being able to install stuff from the heap at instant speed is, I don't know, it's just so crucial.
But I mean, James discarded a clone chip with when using Faust. I mean, and he had the Faust out, which could have, for a lot of cost, got him out of jail if he'd hit a face check to Merlin. So, and Merlin's an expensive card to res for Joey. So
that's true, and Faust breaks it not trivially, but it. I don't know, what is it, 1 to boost, and then I guess 1 per sub to break. So, I mean, you can face check it. The Cyber Cipher was no longer useful, but I guess maybe he was thinking about scavenging. I don't know. We can't really speculate.
Who can say?
It's fair to say that Joey's RP kind of clicked. He drew stuff in the right order, and he got set up. He withstood what early pressure there was. He allowed a couple of accesses, didn't give anything away, and the early Sunju let him get his economy up, and then he started being able to build the remote, and he's trashed the Sunjus, and when Nisei is the first and then the second agenda you score, you're in a great position. So, being able to force the Future Perfect out for the win. So, I mean, obviously, Joe's a co-commentator, so I support him, but I support both of these guys. They're both friends of mine, so.
They're both really good guys.
That's it. So, we're going to flip around the next video and see the reverse. So, in the reverse game, James was playing as NEH. He plays a lot of NEH. And Joey was playing Noise. Now, he obviously plays a lot of all Anarch.
Yes.
There actually was, as I mentioned, there was a lot of Anarch in this. So this video, this Cape video, is one of very few videos that does not feature an Anarch runner from this tournament. So we're going to see NEH against Noise. Do we have any immediate thoughts about the matchup there? I guess maybe... So Noise is going to do its milling thing, obviously, but
definitely.
NEH has responses for that.
I'd imagine that... Now, I don't know whether James is running Butcher Shop or whether he's going to be running Pure Fast Advance. I know in the past that he enjoys bioticking out his Astros.
Yeah.
And so if Joey can use Clot to good advantage as noise, that gives you both a mill and slows the corp down. I'd imagine there'll be a lot of CVS play if that's the case. Otherwise, if Joey finds his imps and is able to get rid of the asset economy that NEH relies on for both card draw and that trickle economy, that can be very powerful. And imping a Sansan is always very, very a pleasurable thing to do. Or a biotic.
Yes, it is, yeah. That's true. Or a biotic, indeed, yeah. Oh, well, yeah, they're both great. Okay, great. All right, so, yeah, it's a pretty good game. So, thank you, Andy, for helping me out with this video. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.